Insanity.
Insanity. Dr. Fred Moss. How are you doing,
my
man?
man, Zen Warrior, Sam Morris. What the hell's going on with us tonight? Who are we with? What are we doing?
Holy shit. I am fucking excited.
Talk to me.
Tonight we are interviewing one of my very good friends, Kenny Aronoff, one of the most well-known, well-received drummers in the entire world, a man who has drummed on 300 million albums sold.
What?
And been nominated for 60 Grammys? Is that right,
Nuh-uh.
Kenny? Yeah,
Well,
seriously.
Have they even given out 60 Grammys?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, dude, those numbers are the best of my calculation. You know, when I wrote my book autobiography, they said, "Well, we need some taglines to promote it." Well, how many? And then they were talking about stupid stuff like, "How many sticks do you think you broke in your lifetime?" Like, are you kidding me? I don't fucking know.
That's too. My God!
I know I broke 18 in one show once, but the thing is, so then I started looking. The best I could do is come up with gold, platinum, diamond records, like 1,300 of them. But that took months to research, you know. And then
no
the
doubt.
300 million records.
If you go to Kenny's website, I mean, you look up his what do you call it? Discography.
Yeah,
and guys that he's played with. I mean, it's just insane. It just goes on and on and on. He has to have like drop down menus for certain years because if he was to just put all those names on there, it would just overwhelm the website. Like SEO wouldn't even be able to keep up with it. He's got drop
until we got
menus.
to terabyte. Until we got to terabytes, Aronoff wasn't even on. He wasn't even on the internet.
That's right. That's right.
I see how that goes.
Yeah, and you know, Fred and I often talk about how we don't have that much in common, but then I just realized something that we definitely have in common. There is no doubt in my mind that both Fred and I, at some point in our lives, have been drinking beer in T-shirts and jeans and listening to Kenny Aronoff jam out. There absolutely 100% that has happened, you know? Growing up different places and different times, but we have been listening. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we did. Yep. Maybe we didn't know. I mean, it's not like, you know, it's not like Page says, and, you know, it's not like Clapton says, and check out our drummer, Kenny Aronoff. He doesn't quite always go there. So,
that's right.
Shit, man. Well, how'd you, you know, well, look what the cat brought in. This is fucking awesome. I just thought I was stopping by for a silly podcast, and look who we get. We get Kenny Aronoff. No wonder I hired you. No wonder we're working together. Now, you know that thing I talked about wanting to talk to my agent last night?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm giving my agent some serious cred because you got Kenny Aronoff on our show. You're the best, Sam.
Oh, well, you know.
Sam's connected.
That's right. That's right.
You know, Kenny, I got a question for you. I'm going to lay this out, but I mean, you know, look, you're a man, you're a human, you got you're a brother, you're a son, you're a citizen, probably, you know, you might be a ex-felon. You got lots of shit going on. But, you know, the one that you're going to go on is this idea that you're a drummer. I mean, you got to, like, you know, you build that sucker up where you got to take up 2 Wikipedia pages just to get to you. Like, you know, when you got that shit going on, then, you know, you're Kenny fucking Aronoff. But I got a question for you.
Kenny Unfuckwithable Aronoff. I changed my middle name. It used to be Kenny. Yeah, Unfuckwithable Aronoff. That's my new middle name.
So the drummer previously known as Kenny fucking Aronoff or something like that. Okay, that's
Kenny
good.
Fucking Aronoff.
Unfuckable. Kenny unfuckable with.
Unfuckwithable.
No, there's a difference between being unfuckable and unfuckwithable.
You know?
A big one.
He may be 68 years old, but he's still fuckable to a lot of women out there.
For sure. And now we're already going south.
Which way? So Kenny, go ahead.
Kenny, I got a question for you. Seriously. I mean, you aside, and other people have asked you this because, you know, how many sticks have you broke? People ask you silly ass questions.
Yeah.
So this is another one of those. Sorry. I'm just a heathen. I got to know, other than you, who's the best rock and roll drummer ever?
John Bonham.
Oh, of course, right?
Okay, in rock and roll, John Bonham. In jazz, if I had to pick one, I'd call it Buddy Rich. I mean, there's a lot of great drummers in all these categories, but Bonham in rock and Buddy Rich and jazz, if I had to pick one. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, you win, and we can actually, and that's it, folks. There we go, and we got another vote for Zeppelin and Bonham. Thanks for being here, Kenny. Drive safely. Don't forget to try the veal. It's all good, bro. All good. Wow,
it's funny.
It's really good to hear. It's really good to hear. I got a Bonham story maybe we'll lay out later. But you know what? That's enough of me rapping here. I'm going to drop this to my good friend and co-host, Sam Morris. Sam, help me out here because I'm running. I'm running out of words. Anyways, I'm running out of words. So off to you.
Well, let's talk about what you're up to these days, Kenny. I mean, you kept busy through COVID. I noticed.
Huge.
You were just rocking and rolling the entire time. I mean, there was a lot of people complaining about how COVID was taking them out of the game, and I think you were as busy as ever during COVID. You were busier. You busier than ever. Yeah, you were You were recording remotely, working on sessions, working on all kinds of new material, working on audio of your book, Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. So what have you had going on?
Well, as soon as the COVID hit, I'm a fight or flight guy, or adapt or die. Humankind has adapted with tools and technology, but this is something I was reading. Humankind is continually adapted by tools and technology, and I looked at it and went, it's kind of like adapt or die. So when the COVID hit, I made a list. All my tours went. I had a whole world tour with Joe Satriani. I had all kinds of shows with Fogarty.
Whoa! That's pretty fucking cool.
And all kinds of other stuff. And then I have a speaking business that all shut down. So the first thing I thought was, I wonder if people will continue to want to hire me to play drums. There's my studio right behind me. They send me tracks of music, and then I play drums on top. I was wondering with the COVID, will they want to spend didn't even change at all. It went up because music made people feel good. Now, I want to back up about 15 years. I saw the writing on the wall when the CDs and the sales went. When the sales, plummeted, so did the budgets plummeted. So that's where I said, you know what? Adapt or die. I got my studio, and I slowly built up this studio with killer gear. And so you get Kenny Aronoff at a ridiculously affordable rate here. Now, when the COVID hit, I had that going, but then I did something else. I turned my studio into basically a TV studio where I could do virtual speaking events. But the amount of research I had to do, and the learning curve was humongous. I mean, I got Pro Tools here. I get so all the mics are on the drums, because when I do my speaking thing, there's two cameras, one in the speaking place, and then one at the drum set. I've got a switcher. Let's talk about the visual part. Where I'm standing, where I'm speaking like I am now, but it's in the other room. I can hit a button, and the deck will come up on the screen full. But by the way, I hate when you're doing these Zoom things, and either the deck is filling the page or your face is filling the page. So I put a big TV monitor behind me, so you can see me and the deck all in one. Then I can hit a button, the deck can fill the screen, and I hit another button, and it goes to the camera on the drum set. And behind the drum set is another TV monitor where that deck is.
High-tech shit.
Yeah. And
you're talking about some high-tech shit.
Yeah. So now
adapt or die, Sam. It's adapt or die. That's all this is.
Yeah, so I have a mixer. So from the audio component, headset goes into the mixer. The headset goes into a mixer, somehow goes in the mixer. I get two stereo, left and right, out of this Pro Tools rig here. So all the mics in my studio go into here, and I take a stereo out, goes in the mixer. Then I have backing tracks on another computer that plays music through Digital Performer. That's a left and right out, goes into the mixer. Then my my speech opens with this killer movie that's on my website now, 300 million records sold to 100 top best drummers of all time, Rolling Stone. I'm playing with everybody except Santa Claus in this video. And there's an audio component that goes in the mixer. Got to mix that just right so it doesn't crap out in Zoom.
I
That
was just
goes
going to
all,
say, how the
dude.
hell are you taking all those mic inputs? I mean, we're getting a little technical here. For those
Yeah,
who aren't following, we're talking about digital audio workstations and so forth,
yeah.
Pro Tools, Digital Performer. But how are you taking all of that input coming from all of those different sources? Because how many mics did you have on your drums?
Do you guys mind if I don't even understand what you're saying, but the day before the test, I study really hard and pass? Is that okay with you?
We got ahead. We'll send you the cliff notes.
All right, thanks. I'm good. Well, then
So,
keep going. Keep
so
going.
yeah. So you have to tweak the gain structure at every position, coming out of the Pro Tools, coming out of a Digital Performer, every inch of the way you're dealing with gain structure, and it took a long time. And then eventually that all comes out of the mixer, left and right. And you're talking about picking the right cables too. Is it XLR or is it quarter inch? Males. It's XLR, but then you have to put the gain structure on down, bring the fader up. That all goes out of that mixer. Is a left and right that goes into a analog to digital converter. So it's a PreSonus box. So I plug in, and then I come, and oh my God, I got to set that structure so that it comes out and goes
Holy
digitally
cow.
into my computer into Zoom.
Wow. All right.
And
Are you your
bottom
own?
line, for those who aren't
Yes, I
following
am.
all the technical speak, bottom line is that takes some badass wizardry to
Yeah.
even come up with that idea to be able to adapt like that. So when you're talking about adapt or die, you're talking, I mean, Kenny, something that's always really impressed me about you is you have this level of discipline that is extremely rare. And I know a lot of people in the rock and roll business have, and just the music business in general, have to have a level of discipline. I think it's something where a lot of people, fans will look at musicians, especially rock musicians, and it will kind of be this anti-discipline kind of perception. But I think exactly the opposite is actually true for true professionals like yourself. And I mean, not only that, but I mean, you actually look half your age. You're 68, you look 34. So how are you keeping up, and what is it? Tell us about this discipline that you've had your entire career.
Well, I mean, first of all, when I was in high school, I was on 3 varsity sports by the time I was a sophomore in high school. So it was lacrosse, skiing, and soccer. So I mean, I was getting my ass kicked by coaches, and I loved it. I mean, I was into. I would call myself a rock jock. I had long hair. I was a hippie jock, and so I was born with a massive amount of energy and power, and so I was able to do sports and music at the same time. So I think what happened, I didn't know any of this shit was going on back then. I was just doing what I liked doing. But then later in life, I've seen how that foundation of hard work, self-discipline, and perseverance, teamwork that I learned from a coach saying, "No, Kenny, pass the ball. Get rid of the ball. It's not about you, buddy. It's the team. Get rid of the ball." Whatever, a sport. And so I learned some fundamental stuff without even realizing it, but it paid off. Like, for example, when I graduated high school, the day I graduated high school,
Where was that, Kenny? Where'd you grow up?
Stockbridge, Massachusetts, Western
Where'd you grow up?
Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
Stockbridge.
It's it's where Alice's restaurant was.
I love it there.
So you know where that is, right?
It sure is.
That's a very unique place.
I do.
Yeah, very unique. For people listening, it's one of the most artistic, intellectual, truly liberal little town in the middle of New England. It's like a slice of New York City brought up into the Berkshires in the 3 hours out of the city into the mountains, where I used to go over to Eric Erickson's house, and he was Sigmund Freud's protege. My best friend's dad wrote The Miracle Worker, the Helen Keller story. I remember, and then his buddy who came up from New York had a house, Arthur Penn, the director of Bonnie and Clyde. I remember I was 13 and I was smoking a doobie, and we had my buddy Tommy had a little cottage up there, and we were jamming out, and it was my turn to steal some beers. I go down there and I'm stoned. I grab a few beers, and all of a sudden Mrs. Gibson, Tommy's mom, goes, "Kenny, is that you?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck." I put the beers back. Says, "Come in and say hi to everybody." It's Faye Dunaway, Frank Langella, Anne Bancroft, her husband, Mel Brooks. Yeah, all those people just sitting there drinking wine, because we had summer stock up there. That was normal for me. That was just normal.
And
So
this is
anyway,
close by to Tanglewood, right? Where you
Tanglewood,
eventually performed at Tanglewood, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Tanglewood was where the home of this Boston Symphony Orchestra. When I went to school for 5 years to study classical music because there was no school of rock back then, and I was absolutely shit, and that's why I was practicing 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, the day I graduated high school, because I knew I was behind in classical music. But 4 of those 5 years that I studied, I ended up at Indiana University, the #1 school of music, the more hard school to get into and harder to stay in, where you had monster discipline teacher. He was like, I walked in for my first lesson. I didn't have a pencil and eraser. He says, "Get the fuck out. You get an F. Don't ever show up for any rehearsal, any lesson without a pencil and eraser." I never did that again. But I spent every year while I was Indiana University trying to get into Tanglewood. And eventually I got in. They only take 7 percussionists in the whole world. But there is where I got to work with Leonard Bernstein, one of America's greatest conductor composers.
The best.
Yeah.
That's who I grew up with.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah.
The best.
And so,
I love that guy.
Aaron Copland, Sergio Zawa. I mean, I got my ass kicked, man. This place, there was no hand holding, coddling shit that's going on now. Dude, you either perform when Leonard Bernstein or Sergio Zawa, even more so, when these fuckers stop a 60, 70, 80 piece orchestra to tell you to do something, you got one chance. And if you don't get it right, you are fucking thrown out. There ain't no fucking mom calling you up and saying, "Well, I don't think," there ain't no fucking, it's just either you perform or you don't. That's some badass training. I like that. That has made me, and so you bring it into the later part of my life where I did 7 Kennedy Center honors, and you're in the Obama inauguration, you're performing with Sting and Elton John and Bruce Springsteen and Mellencamp and Lady Gaga and Chris Cornell and Bruno Mars and Steven Tyler and Willie Nelson and all the country people. And you got that much time to rehearse. You have to be able to read and write like a mofo, and you've got to adapt or die on the spot. You got to solve problems. 16 camera shoot. They're recording it, and the drummer can't fuck up. You have other people that can fix in post, but not the drums. Dude, this is a massive, massive pressure. You don't fuck up, man, because if you do, you don't get asked back. And like I said, I don't give a shit if you're black, white, green, purple, or blue. Either you can do the job or you can't. And I love being in that situation.
Kenny, that's some serious shit you just rolled out, and it completely freaking awesome. I really am getting a little bit of what it means to be, well, what it looks like, maybe what I can imagine it looks like from your eyes while you're rolling around doing all that. And I have the next question for you is based on a book that I actually just completed 10 minutes ago. And that book is by James Clear, and the book is called Atomic Habits. And one thing he speaks about is that when you develop these habits, there is a space for which, if you aren't always looking for the next mountain, there'll be a slight dip having developed a new disciplinary habit. Mm-hmm. That there's something about understanding that having developed a habit, you haven't really acquired anything, you haven't really arrived anywhere. There's a steep hill up because, look, Bernstein didn't teach you how to do this shit in COVID. That's you continuing to upgrade. Bernstein doesn't know shit about COVID. Right. And who you were when you were with your master, who you were when you were with, when you're hanging out in Indiana or Tanglewood, who you were isn't the man who got you to be the superstar this last year. There's a continual ongoing slope upward. Can you speak to us about, like, how do you stay, a skier, a varsity skier, I heard that, but how do you stay in how do you deal with the diamond slopes? How do you deal with the moguls of what it really means to be a premier, ongoing, 68 motherfucking years old rock star of extraordinary proportion? What is that about?
Well, there's different, it was different at different stages of my life. Right now, I have wisdom. Right now, I see the pattern of the mogul and up. So if I'm going in a mogul, now I'm like, Been there, done that. Stay the course, Kenny. I know you may not want to be in that mogul, but you know that mogul, there's the gift right in when you're in that mogul to set you so fucking high up on that mountain. Now, when you're 18, you're like, oh shit, the mogul. Oh, I'm fucking suck. I'm a failure. I suck. I'm a loser. All this shit. But you have to, the people who survive and become big at what they do, persevere through that experience of the mogul. They don't die. They don't give up. They feel like shit, but they stay in the game, and then they start acquiring knowledge. Where they start, wait a minute. I've been in this mogul 30 times, and every time seems like I come out of it. And then you start going, and you start learning. So if you can get through those tough times and learn from those experiences, and basically, as they call it, the gift of every experience, you will become a very wise person. And now, in your later years of life, you're going like, seen that, done that. Yeah, okay. It's like a running back in football. I have a line I came up with. It's this. I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. Now, that's a running back in football. He sees the end zone. He spends his whole career trying to get in. Does he get in every time? Fuck no. He may even break his leg one season, but he's focusing on end zone. So when you're going into that mogul, you're like, I'm in the mogul, but man, I'm shooting up there. I'm going up. So while I'm in the mogul, I'm keeping my sights on there. I'm just dealing with the mogul.
That's so great.
Real, so real. I love it. Lane, go ahead, Sam.
Well, I was just going to say, this is something that occurred to me the other day, that I'm not going to allow myself to complain until I've made sure that all the things that are within my control have been handled. Because what sense does it make to actually complain about your circumstances unless, if there's something right in front of you that you're not actually addressing, that you're not doing, then complaining is idiotic. It's completely idiotic. And there's something that I wanted to just kind of throw in here, reflect back or whatever. It's around sort of the perceived notion of being stuck with something. Say, I know a lot of people, certainly during COVID, have felt stuck and aimless. Like, what do I do now? Oh my God, so many things have changed, but what do I do now? But if you're in the habit, and what you're talking about is the habit of not being complacent. And if you're already in that habit of not being complacent, then you're going to keep moving where someone else might be complacent and then blaming the circumstances. But it's actually because, to a certain degree, they became complacent when things didn't change that much. And so part of what I'm hearing is, just addressing, being really honest with ourselves and go, okay, is it really my circumstances? Or am I just used to being comfortable? And am I used to not thinking outside of the box? And I get that the way that you've lived your life, and you were telling me stories before about how you've moved from classical to rock and roll to country, and you've just kind of evolved as your situation has evolved, as your circumstances have evolved, and you've figured out the next thing. You've always been looking at, well, what's the next thing to happen now, versus becoming complacent and sort of sitting on a fixed identity and saying, well, I'm one of the top 100 drummers in the world. I can kind of sit back and just enjoy this, status and notoriety.
Never sit back.
That's not your thing. You're always looking at what the next thing is.
Absolutely. Now, there's a couple of things that you brought up here. First of all, that we're humans. So, I mean, when we're complaining, or we go into those childhood emotions like, oh, I suck, or oh, I'm a loser, that shit is the stuff you do when you're a kid. We're never going to lose those initial reactions to something like the COVID comes off. Man, this sucks, man. Blah, blah, all this negative shit, man. But what you can do as an adult, and what I do is like, oh yeah, that's that human nature that is still in me, that when I was a kid. But I recognize it and I go, hey, okay, you recognize it? You're never going to get rid of that. You're triggered. All these things are triggering that little childhood shit. But what we do now, Kenny, is when you start feeling like a loser or you start feeling any of that negative shit, we do this now. I made an agreement with myself. I made an agreement. I said, no, Kenny, like you want you go from validation. That's one of the things I work on. You find yourself wanting to get validation. I go, no, we don't do that anymore, Kenny. Self-validation, honesty, which is what you brought up, Sam. You brought that up. You said it's that thing of being honest. That's the key, man. All the answers are in there. The honesty. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Just look at if somebody who's listening to this feels like they suck or they're not as good as they should want to be and blah blah. Hey, man, that's just life. So, first of all, you don't suck. Look, I'm not going to mention somebody. I could tell you somebody. Oh, dude, he was a guest on. He's written 7 books. He was a guest on in metal, and I had dinner with him, and he asked me a couple questions, and then his head dropped down heavy. Went, wow, yeah, I've had some failures, and I've made some big mistakes. And me, I'm looking at this guy like I really look up to the guy. Went, no, dude. It just rolled out of my mouth. There are no failures. There are no mistakes. All they are is events that bring you or brought you to this dinner. So in other words, if you look at it like that, if I go like, you're a fucking piece of shit, you get ill. But if I say, you know what? I really love you. You're a cool dude. You feel good. So if you got to do that to yourself, man, you got to go like, you know, the human child part going, God damn, this is taking too long to get this beat or this thing. The new way of thinking is like, calm down, Kenny. We don't get upset like that. We don't give up anymore. We don't blame ourselves. We don't blame that. Like what you were saying. What we do is we're now in the mogul, as you said it, Doc, and we're just going to stay on this and we're going to get through this. But let's be upbeat about it, and you will persevere, but you'll get there faster because you're up and positive. There is no negative. They're just experiences that get us to the next level. That's how I got through COVID. Oh my God, I lost a shitload of money, but I did fine. I made it. The thing is, it feels so good. You know, you take one step, then take another step, take another step. If you do nothing, it's like math. If you do nothing, you get nothing. 0 equals 0. It's like math. If you don't do anything, you're going to get nothing. That's why entitlement sucks. I told my son this. I'll give you 2 bits of advice. You know, as a father should. I said, 1, always think you're on your own. Even though, of course, I got his back. But when you think you're on your own and it's up to you to navigate yourself through this life, this short life, it's up to you. You're not looking for other people. You're doing as much as you can to take care of yourself. The next thing I said is stay healthy because you're on your own. You're on your own. So the more you're capable of taking action and being responsible for yourself, the better your life will be. And you did ask me about health, and I have 8 steps to a healthy life, which I can get into if you want me to.
Kenny Aronoff, top 100 drummers of all time, Rolling Stone magazine, top 10 life coaches of all time, Life Coach magazine.
It really is. It really is guru level brilliance that is just dripping out of that pie hole of yours. I have some questions for you about this because I'm just awestruck. Look, I hang out with I've hung out with some pretty brilliant people who know how to play the game of life and who talk some talk, but this is not that. This is you just delivering from your soul. So I got a question for you. You know, I'm thinking, well, how did this guy pick this up if who he's really doing is being one of the best, you know, just drumming away all day and then technologically and then 3-time varsity athlete and then Stockbridge. And then I saw you shake your head up when I said something about being an ex-felon, but that's we'll have that conversation later. What I have here is where's this growth and development or the meditation or the nutrition or the, you know, what do you listen to when you're listening to, like when you're receiving from the universe, when you're not just like absolutely bringing the whole motherfucker. When you're sitting back and ready to receive from the universe the magic that's here for us to learn, things that you have already incorporated into your bone marrow, Kenny. What are those things? What are those practices you take that you picked up that level of brilliant wisdom? Because it is outrageous, Kenny, how totally solid and grounded the shit is that just naturally rolls out of your mouth.
Well,
It's beautiful.
Okay, first of all, I mean, there's one element we haven't brought up, and that is you're born a certain way, and who the hell knows where I get, who the hell knows where I got this makeup to absorb that shit. When I hear something, I go, oh, or even give a shit to hear it. So you're born with a certain makeup, and I'm like, damn, it's like, I've been in a place where I've worked. I did. I worked with a very, very probably overpriced life coach for a year. And I remember my business manager was saying, "God damn, Kenny, you fucking are a sucker for this shit. You're paying way too much to this guy. You better." I said, "Debbie, just chill out. You don't think that? I don't think that's expensive. That's ridiculous. But for some reason, I'm trusting myself, and I know myself that if I'm spending that kind of money, dude, I am doing the work 7 days a week for like it was like a year, 7 days a week. No matter where I was putting in, and I did learn a lot, and it did stick. So why did I even get with a life coach? You know what I mean? Obviously, something resonated, and the thing is, what I'm saying is I was born to absorb certain things. We all are born with the ability to see certain things. And in this lifetime, I just want to see and experience as much as I can to evolve. I mean, what else is there? I mean, if there's an afterlife, fantastic. I hope I come back like as light. I hope I'm done with the physical shit. I come back as light. If there isn't, so what? Then I got the most value out of this life anyway. It's just so I was born with something, I don't even know what to call it. And so from there, I have absorbed shit. I do know that ever since I was a little kid, I was sort of very aware of untangible things. Like the type of stuff I talk about just resonates with me. So you know what? I didn't make this fucking car. I'm just driving it. Talk to the manufacturer, my mom and dad, or the God, or whoever you believe in. But I'm just trying to keep the fucker on the road.
Tell us about your musical mentors.
Awesome.
Who are your mentors musically? Who just kind of who really taught you something in any kind of way? Doesn't have to be drums. It could be music.
Okay, yeah.
Could be music business. It could be just kind of the overall attitude, sustaining your energy. Like who are your mentors musically?
Well, in rock and roll, I mean, you probably know the story. At 10 years old, I was out playing outside, with my brother. There was nothing to watch on TV back then. My mom screams at us to come in the house, and we think, oh, shit, we're in trouble, which usually was the case. We get in there, and she's pointing to this black and white RCA TV set we had with the rabbit ears and the tinfoil.
Ed Sullivan.
Yeah. And there's 4 guys on TV.
Ed Sullivan.
It's like they got long hair. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And they got, suits and electric guitars. And, lead singer goes, she loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I'm bouncing off the wall. So it resonated with me. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're from. All I know is I want to do that. So I go, Mom, who are they? She said, they're the Beatles. Well, I want to be in the Beatles. Call them up. I want to play in that band. And so that they resonated, and I was just like goo. I mean, I'd never felt anything like that before, and I was only 10. And so the Beatles, I would like to say, were mentors to me, because then it was like I was living and breathing. I mean, the cool story is 50 fucking years later, I get called to do this CBS special called The Night That Changed America. And I'm now I'm in the house band that's honoring the Beatles for the Ed Sullivan Show, and I get to play with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr.
No
so
shit.
50 years later, I'm playing with my heroes. My head's going cuckoo. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to get to use this in an interview someday. but then I got to play with Stevie Wonder, who was also a mentor. Stevie Wonder, oh my God. And then, Jeff Lynne from the ELO, and then Joe Walsh from the Eagles, Dave Grohl, and all these other people. But
from the James Gang, man.
Fuck,
that's James Gang. That Eagles is that's late in the career.
Exactly, James Gang. Anything he does is spectacular. So the thing is that Ringo, when I got done playing with all these bands and 30 minutes left in the show, I'd go out to look for my wife in this arena in LA, and oh my God, there's these elite seats. So it's like, there's Tom Hanks. So I did that thing you do. So we knew each other real well. Tom Hanks, his wife, Ringo, his wife, Paul McCartney, his girlfriend, George Harrison's widow, John Lennon's widow, Yoko. Let's see, Tom Cruise, Sean Penn, and Johnny Depp. And they're all there. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're all acknowledging me. But Ringo's going, bravo, Mr. Aronoff. Great job, Kenny. That was spectacular. Now, I played the Grammys with him the night before, so I'd met him, but never did I have this moment. So I'm like been beaten up from playing, so I'm very humble. And I get down on one knee because everyone's looking at me. And before I could say anything, he goes, "It's okay, Kenny. I'm already married."
Ringo landed on that.
But I said, no. And this is what rolled out of me. Now, the reason why I was taking my time, because I thought, this is corny, but I said, fuck it. This is how I feel. I went, you're the reason why I play the drums. And you're the reason why I play rock and roll. And you and the Beatles has set me on a course at age 10 that I've been on ever since. Wow. And I got up and I walked away and I started thinking, you know what? In order to be really, really, really good at something, you got to love it. It's got to be your soul. It's got to be your truth. It's got to be your purpose. It's got to be your essence. And that's what happened when I saw the Beatles. So they were my mentor. That's why I said them. They were the first mentor to me, because holy shit, look how long that lasted. That lasted that long. They made me realize what my purpose in life is before I even knew what those words meant. They just was, and here's a crucial thing. So I went through all that college and all that classical training because there was no school rock. I get into Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra when I graduated, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you did it! You went from shit to Shinola. You did it, Kenny, bravo!" And I turned it down. Why did I turn it down? What? This is crucial. Without me really understanding it, my brain said, "You got to do this, Kenny." My heart was saying, "No, we still want to be in the Beatles. We want to rock." So I turned down certainty for complete uncertainty. I turned down certainty for possibility. Who do you call up to get into a rock and roll band? I was living in Stockbridge again. I moved back home. I was practicing 8 hours a day, studying drum set with somebody in New York, drum set with somebody in Boston, moved to Indiana. Everyone's like, "What are you going to do in Indiana?" Well, the business model was we had a band. One of the dads invested 30 grand, truck, lights, PA, equipment. We were going to write songs, get a record deal. Then we go on tour and we're on the radio like the Beatles. 3 years we struck out, 27. I'm like, fuck, man, when is this going to happen? So I'm gonna go to New York. I figured I knew more people there. And my parents were 3 hours away. So I'm having lunch with this singer-songwriter, and she goes, "Hey man, do you know this guy? Have you heard of this guy? He lives in town. He's on this new network called MTV, and he makes records. And yeah, I've seen his videos. He's all right, yeah. And he's on making records, and he just got off tour with Kiss, and he fired his drummer last night." I went, ding, 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 ding. Oh my God. Radio, touring, TV, holy shit. I go running out to a payphone, call up the guitar player. He says, "Well, I'll call you in a couple of weeks." Calls me in a couple of weeks. Long story short, I audition, and after I only plays 2 songs, and I'm like, "Oh God, this is it. This is it. I gotta get this." The guitar player goes upstairs, talks to the boss, comes down, goes, shakes my hand, smiles, goes, "Welcome to hell." I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Okay, 5 weeks later, I'm in LA making a record at Cherokee Studios, one of the big studios in LA. And in 2 days, I'm fired. What the fuck? I played with Leonard Bernstein. How can you fire me? That didn't have shit to do with getting a song on the radio to be a hit. Bernstein didn't, I mean, he eventually, yeah, what I learned from him, but the producer wanted to get this record done fast. You got to get the drums first. I had no experience playing drums in a recession. The North Stars to get it on the radio. See, to be great at something, it's all about me. To be really great and have a career, it's about we.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the we. I didn't know teamwork at all. I had to that.
You know, and clearly not a failure. It's clearly not an event that's a failure. You know, this is another stepping stone on the way, exactly in the right place for you.
Yeah, that was listen, so that guy ended up being John Mellencamp. So
yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah, when John told me to go home, a very pivotal moment. What came out of my mouth was the most crucial, life-changing moment. He said, "You go home." I went, "No fucking way."
Ah, yes.
And the band was like, they were like, "Oh, this is going to be a fist fight." And so then I'm scrambling. This is the adapt or die. I didn't know any of this shit. I can now look back and go, "Oh my god." That's why I say it's in my DNA. I think you're born with some of this shit. So I go, well, because I felt like a loser. I felt like embarrassed. I'm not going home. Holy shit, I can't go home. I can't live with myself. So I said, well, look, am I still your drummer or what? And he goes, he's smoking. He goes, yeah, but you're not playing on the record. I went, well, I'm scrambling. I go, I'm going to go in the studio and I'm going to watch those guys play my drum parts on your record and I'll learn from them. Yeah, I'll learn. Yeah. And then I'll benefit from that. And hey, you'll benefit because I'm your drummer, right? Silence. I'm like, fuck. I went, okay, you don't have to pay me. I'll sleep on the couch. And he went, cool. I stayed there. And that was the beginning of holy fuck. I don't know. I had to learn how to serve him, his music, the producer, the other musicians. All of a sudden, it was pivoting from me to we and starting to understand, wow, holy shit. It's not about me. And that band, John was no hand-holding, coddling dude. It was, he said in my book, he said, yeah, I respected Kenny for saying no to me. He didn't tell me that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. So Mellencamp, if I recall, has Indiana roots. Was that, you know, he's an Indiana boy right from the beginning, yeah?
Absolutely. Yep.
Was that where this was, or were you already out of Bloomington?
No.
Were you already rolling?
No, I was in Bloomington because that's where that band I had was based out of, and I was going to move there.
Yeah.
And then I just stayed once I got the gig, and it was a tough road. And then, you know, then 2 years later, I vowed I'd make a record. I'm not leaving this band till I make a record and redeem myself. And the next record was the hardest record I've ever made in my life. And John, literally a week before the record, he passes us in the dark on a Harley at 80 miles an hour, no helmet. Fucking dog jumps out, hits the bike. All I see is sparks and an explosion. The bike went down. He got on top of the bike while it's spinning and somehow miraculously pushed off right before the bike hit a tree. Because we slammed on our brakes and we're looking and he's limping. He's in shock across the road. Anyway, so that happened. He's going through a divorce, and the biggest thing that I didn't know about back then, he was about to lose his record deal. So he's screaming at us for creative ideas and innovative ideas to get these songs on the radio. And so I walk in one day, and you know, it's not a fun record at all. It was like 9 weeks of hell. That's the welcome to hell part. So I walk in one day, and the co-producer's got this metal box. I go, hey, Don, what's that? He goes, oh, it's a Lin 1 drum machine. I'm like, drum machine? Those replace drummers. I'm like, what? What's going on? Fight, adapt or die. I grab the machine and the manual. I go, well, I'm going to program this fucker. I'm like, what? I programmed what I was playing, gave it back to them, and I'm sitting in the lounge going like, am I the horse and buggy and the car just showed up? I mean, is this the end of the drummer? I mean, what's going on? And then I eventually get called into the control room. John goes, we need a drum solo. We need some drum thing here after the second chorus. I'm like, I'm excited because I'm back on the record, but I'm going like, holy shit. If I don't save the song, I got to save the song to save my career. So I'm crapping in my pants, and we spend the whole day getting drum sounds, and all I'm thinking is serve the song, serve the artist. See, I'd learned serve. So that's why the machine is going goo, 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 ga, do, ga, boom, blam. And I come in simple. It's not about chops. It's not about showcasing me. It's just boom, blam with the bass drum to the snare drum. Real simple. And I stop. And I look up, and I got 9 guys in the control room going, yeah.
Sweet. So you're telling me a drum machine Mellencamp almost went the direction of drum machines. Is that what you're telling me here?
On that song.
On that song, on that particular track.
See, that what happened?
You know, I can't hesitate but drop one of Mellencamp's line on you because it came up. I'm like, I can't get out of this fucking interview without dropping this line. It's like he's looking for someone who knows the meaning of "Hey, hit the highway," and that is not you. That's how that goes.
No, but the lyric was, "I need a lover." In this case, I need a drummer who knows the meaning of "not hit the highway." I was that guy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There you go.
That's good. I need a drummer who won't drive me crazy. I need a drummer who knows the meaning of "Hey, hit the highway."
Drive me mad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I love it. That's funny.
That's fucking.
That's really great.
Fred. Nice one, Fred.
That was right on point.
Thank you.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah. Well, thanks for setting me up with your stories. I totally appreciate it. And
there was some other mentor. I'll tell you the next big mentor you appreciate, and I won't dwell on it, and I won't tell a big story, but it was Hendrix. You know, you're listening to the Beatles and the Stones and all this top 40, and all of a sudden, Purple Haze came out. Talk
to me.
It was like, whoa. He was like scary, but not. He was such a lovable guy. So,
you know, let me excuse me for interrupting you because you are music when you speak. But I got to tell you, when you speak to that exact experience, I was in London a couple of years ago and saw the space where Purple Haze, where he died, and Purple Haze that's around that home now. And when you bring up that name, and when Purple Haze hit the world, that day. It's like, whoa, slow down. You're in church now. You know, there's something you're almost not allowed to say that, and at least stop for a second, take off your hat, and recognize the impact that song had on the world's music and then the whole world scene, and who that man was, 27 years young. So bring it. But I just wanted to pay honor. And Sam calls me Hendrix sometimes, by the way, but that's a different story. And I just want to honor what that really was, this moment in time that you're memorializing right now. So thank you.
Well, you couldn't have said it better. I mean, it was when I saw him play live when Axis Bold as Love came out, which is the second record with the Experience Band. And on the way home, 90 minutes, was Troy, New York, driving back to Massachusetts. Nobody said a word. It was like, holy fuck. It was like, I mean, it was right. I mean, it wasn't funny. It wasn't angry. It was.
No, Angel's on that one, right? Angel's on that record, I think.
On Axis Bold as Love?
I could be wrong.
I can't remember. But I mean,
I believe it is. Yeah.
I mean,
that's a totally different thing too.
So
is that late in his career, Kenny?
No, Axis was second. It was.
Is that just the second one?
68, right?
Yeah. All You Experienced, and then Axis Bold as Love was You got me floating round and round. You got me floating.
Yeah, he put out all those. He put out Are You Experienced, Axis, and Electric Ladyland, all within a couple of years of each other.
Yeah.
It was a hugely creative
Rainy
time.
Day. Wham, bam, bam, boom. rainy day, rain all night. But and
Oh
I played with
yeah.
Mike Finnegan, the organ player that was on that. And
Mm.
I mean, and I got to do the Hendrix Experience tour right before the pandemic, and we're doing all the stuff pretty much off of Are You Experience.
Right, right, right.
And so I got to be Mitch Mitchell.
That's amazing.
Dude, so I said to
Come
Joe,
on.
Joe, you realize Mitch, he's a jazz drummer jamming. I said, you want me to hold it down or cut loose? He went,
And when you
fucking
say Joe, you're talking about Satriani, right?
yeah.
He was playing the lead.
Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah, Joe.
yeah.
Which Joe would you think he was talking
So
about
it
that,
was like
Sam?
we were doing. Let's see, we were doing Manic Depression. We were doing.
Hey Joe. Hey Joe.
We didn't do Hey Joe. Somebody else said we did.
Foxy Lady.
You Don't Live Tomorrow, and we had Doug
Yeah,
Pinnick.
sure.
Doug Pinnick from King's X was singing and playing bass. It was perfect. We did. What was the first song we did? We even did Third Stone from the Sun for a while. Bam, 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 the jazz one. Oh, we did Voodoo Child. Bam, ba-dum, bam, boom, boom, bam, bam, ba-dum, bam. Bam, ba-dum, bam, boom, boom, ba-dum, bam, ba-dum, bam, ba-bow, bam, ba-dum, bam, 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 ba-dum. And then yeah, I Don't Live Today. When we got in the middle was ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, then we stop. Then you go it was like drum solo on top of his shit. It got so out there.
Oh yeah.
It was
Mitch Mitchell was just doing constant fills, but he did them so tastefully.
Yeah.
I mean, most drummers doing all those fills, it would be like, "Are you kidding me, man? Just sit in the pocket, stop with the fills." But with Mitch, he would do fills, and it was tasteful. It was like it was part of his playing style.
It was part of his style, absolutely. So now check this out. So I did a Joe Satriani record. We were supposed to go on tour during the pandemic, so we didn't do that. So he says, "Let's do another record." We're finishing it up right now, and I play. He sends me really thick guitar tracks, and there's a programmed drums, and so I start from there. And basically, what I'm saying is he wanted me, it seemed like I started to realize he wanted me to play a little bit like I was playing on that tour, which is way busy. And there's one song, I'm playing so many fills, and I thought, there's no way. And Joe says, yeah, that's what I want. I'm like, whoa, I would have gotten fired in about 99% of any gig if I played like that in any gig. But the wild thing is, through most of the song, I'm just like, it's this real R&B song. And then also at the end, maybe it's faster. I mean, I'm just feeling all over the place. I'm like, that's wrong. And Joe goes, no, that's right.
I love it.
It's going to be interesting. Anyway,
all right. Top three drummers whose styles you have liked to emulate in situations like that. If you were to have, say, like, because I'm sure there's a lot of gigs kind of like that where you're brought in, they're like, all right, play like so and so. This is we're going to cover such and such. Well, what are the top three drummers that you're like, man, I would never think to play like that naturally, but that's a cool way to play?
Okay.
So I like to say disqualify Bonham, Mitchell, and Starr.
Why?
Because we've already given them three, and we know we could put one or two or three of them there.
The thing is, okay, the guys I go to where I go like, this sounds like I should do this. Keith Moon, Bonham, Ringo Starr, Mitch Mitchell, definitely, and Ginger Baker.
Ginger Baker. I was going to say Ginger Baker. Yeah.
That's so sweet. And speaking of Ginger Baker, I heard, because for the listeners, I blew off our first effort here. I heard that night, by the time I was ready to talk to you, that you were prepping up for In the Presence of the Lord. What the hell? Talk to us about that. What's that? What the hell is going on?
That song came out sick because Blondie Chapman, who's such a soulful singer, who was with the Beach Boys forever and was friends with the Stones, and that's he's from South Africa, but he's very English sounding, and he sang and it sounded equally as good as Steve Winwood. Equally. And he sang it sitting down while he was playing guitar. It's sick. It's sick. We did it just like
Where is it? Where is it? How can we hear it?
It's being
can we hear
not
it?
yet. We just recorded it. But that thing is so heavy.
Sweet.
It's so going to be so amazing. This is as good as it gets. It's going to be amazing. And in the middle section where they speed up, I suddenly went, you know what? This is where I'm going to do something different. Where it usually goes, I can't remember how it goes, but it goes into double time, and Ginger went do do ba ba do boo ba ba do boo ba 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 do ba do ba, and I decided I'm going to Aaronize it. So I went ba boom ba boom ba boom ba boom ba boom ba ba boom. I did a Motown beat to drive it harder than Ginger Baker did, and then I slide into Ginger Baker style to come out of it. So it was like, so like that's an example how I'll go. If I were to write it on my chart, I go, or if I'm going to go to a part where you need to get a little crazier, I'll go Moon on my chart right there, Moon or Mitchell or Bonham in a section. And so I'll think those guys, that kind of thing.
Well, we go back to what you said before. You know, I get really thanks for chilling my bones with the beauty of that story just within a few days ago. And I really, I'm stuck with, if that's as good as it gets, this is the backslash on what you said earlier. Like, if you've just arrived at the top of Everest, where are you going upward? Like, what does it take to keep going higher than the peak of Everest?
Well, there's always another peak. Like I said, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. There's always another. It's like the running back gets a touchdown. Give me the ball again. Touchdown. Give me the ball again. It's like there's always another way to revisit. Hell, climb Everest again then. That's what I say. Climb Everest again, but a different way.
Climb Everest again.
Just climb it come up a different way. And you will learn something through the process.
Yeah.
So it's endless. So for me, the most important thing at this point, really it's always, but even more so now because you get older, you get wiser, is to be fucking aware of what's going on so that you don't miss an opportunity that's coming at you. You know what? When I moved back to Bloomington, Indiana, everybody said, "Why are you going there? There's no music business in Indiana." I said, "Well, we're starting this band." That led me to John Mellencamp. Now, maybe it was my divine angels telling me. I don't know. But thank God I did it. So, that's the thing. Trust in that spirit thing inside you, because stuff's coming at you. And a lot of times we're like saying, you are getting in the way of yourself. We get in the way of ourselves more than anybody on the planet.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing here is putting in the time and the discipline to be a master of your craft and knowing that chance favors the prepared. The universe is responding to the fact that you're putting in the time, discipline, and passion. And it's out there listening, and it's coordinating things that your logical mind never would be able to coordinate, but it's putting together those synchronicities because it's paying attention to you and how much discipline, time, energy, and passion you're giving your craft. And
absolutely.
There's
beautifully said.
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
You do your part. They're there. They're ready to help you. The universe is, hey, take your time. If you don't get it this time, you'll get it next time. But we're here to help. And I agree that my dad tried to impart that information on me when I was a kid. He said, don't worry about these other people. I said, yeah, but. And he says, don't worry about it. Focus on what you're doing. And eventually he gave up on me because I was too young and focusing. But Mike, don't worry about Mike. Focus on your stuff. But it stayed in my head, obviously, because I just said it. So that's what makes me think you're born with wisdom, where it's just that you're born with wisdom in a child's body and mind. So there's where the education is.
It's like we're born with the wisdom and then we start to take on all this dumb shit.
Yeah, of course.
For the first 20, 30 years of our lives. And then we have to gradually go back to the wisdom that we actually had when we were born, but have it more integrated.
Yeah.
I 20 or 30. Mine actually went 61 years. So Kenny, what look, it is too much fun to talk to you for sure. And I want, as Ken says all the time, can we have you back? But I don't want to really say that. But I do want to ask you in some other way.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And I want to know, it really is easy to find you. All you have to do is like wiki you. All you have to do is like Google, you probably put in ARA and then it fills it in for you. And so I need to know, like, is there anything you want to tell our listeners or our viewers about how they can follow, learn about you, be with you, listen to you, etc.?
Well, I mean, I do social media. I don't post enough, but I do post. On Instagram, it's Kenny Aronoff. Twitter, it's Aronoff Official. On Facebook, don't even ask me to add you as a friend because I tapped out 15 years ago. People go, why haven't you added me? I'm like, because there's about 2,000 people that are saying the same thing. What am I going to do? Drop,
It's called a fan page. It's called a fan page.
Exactly. I have a fan page.
Follow the fan page.
And then I have LinkedIn. But then you go to my website, www.kennyaronoff. That's where people ask me they can go on that page and send me an email. And if they want me to record drums for them, they reach me there. I've got a book, like you mentioned, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll. And the book is right underneath this computer. There it is. See? It's me.
Nice.
And I just did an audio version, which is funny because they stupidly thought to do it without me. And I went, what? And I had told the publisher, I can't wait to do my audiobook. I'm got to do it. And they stupidly thought that let's have somebody else. Like, people really want to hear some other guy. That'd be like,
dude, that's just fucking crazy.
Exactly. So,
of all people to replace, you are the wrong dude to replace.
You want to know something that's even more stupid about these people? I won't mention the name. I emailed the book, the audio book, by the way, everybody. And if you want to get a mouthful of me, I talk just like that when I read. I am not holding back. I'm not reading it.
Nice.
I'm fucking telling it. And I'm screaming. I'm screaming at you. So anyway, when I read it, I just said,
I got to listen to that.
I emailed to them 2 days ago. They said, hey, since the book came out June 1st, why haven't you sent me social media pictures with a tagline where they can order it? And by the way, why is my audiobook not on the new releases? Never heard back from them. It's like,
Unreal.
Remember I told you? You're on your own. So
you're on your own.
So, but you know what? When my book hardcover came out, I spent 11 months and hired a publicist out of my dime and paid a shitload of money to do it right. And I will do it right with the audiobook. And, they just, it's just, I remember Mellencamp always screaming about the label and the manager and and all these people. And I'm going, oh, yeah, that's right. They don't do their job. You're just a piece of meat. I get it.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so great.
I've got an important question to ask you before we go.
Yeah.
When are you going to do an album with Kenny G and call it Kenny Squared?
Well, I will never do it on with Kenny G unless he writes the Kenny G check. Then what? I always tell everybody when a drum company goes, "Yeah, we'd love you to play our drums." I said, "Okay, you gotta make a deal that the whole world will understand." Oh, Kenny left Tama Drums, who he's been with for 40 years, and went to that drum company because, they bought him a jet and they gave him $10 million. Oh, right. That makes sense.
Right.
Nobody would ever do that. That's what I was trying to tell him. Like, I'm not going to just move from Tama and go laterally and break up a relationship of 40 years with a drum company. So if Kenny G, people might go like, oh man, I can't believe you played with Kenny G. Yeah? Well, he paid me a lot of money and I actually enjoyed it.
There you go.
By the way, that was just my dry sense of humor too. I
want to know if you,
I was
when
gonna,
you
I was just
crack
going to
those
see
jokes,
if that one landed.
Yeah, when you roll those out on
Touchdown.
real time, I'm wondering if was there some preparation to that joke, or did you
That's
just
been premeditated for like a week right now.
that is so great, Sam. Really well done. Really, really well done. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate both of you. And I really appreciate this conversation. It's been a pleasure. And Kenny, is it ARA or ARO? What's your first three letters of your last name?
ARO. It's AR and then on off. And the way it's been, I was told it should be spelled AIR, like air on off, Aronoff. I don't know why it came out that way, but it's Aronoff. That's what I was told. So it's AR and then on off.
Did you ever? My practice initially for 19 years was in none other than Cincinnati, Ohio, about 240 miles, I guess, east of Bloomington. And there's, of course, a music center there called the Aronoff Center.
Yeah.
And have you played it?
I've never, but I'll never forget the first time I walked around the corner. I went, what?
Yeah, I was like, am I about to learn that shit is named after this man? So I was like, okay, I thought I'd throw that one out.
Nobody told me, and I only grew up knowing my family is Aronoff, and all of a sudden there's a fucking building with my name on it.
It's a beautiful building too.
It is.
Certainly the best acoustics in Cincinnati. It's a very beautiful building.
Yeah, I've never played there. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to share with you more. Yeah. Thanks for being here. We could go on and on, but let's I think we could tap it out now. I think so, right?
There's very few, and I just want to say there's very few people who really deserve the two words "you rock" like Kenny Aronoff. So Kenny Aronoff, you fucking rock.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Sam. Beautiful, beautiful.
I had a wonderful time. Great energy with everybody. And Sam, you're like one of my dearest friends.
I like this.
Yeah. The we and the me. Fred, so nice to meet you. With you and I probably could ignite an entire city with electricity, and Sam would be there controlling it with his cool.
He's got Sam sports a pretty nice Stratocaster, man. He can roll that shit. He's pretty good.
At the beginning of the pandemic, and I'll let you guys go, I kept saying, Sam, I'm coming up, and then I got so friggin' busy because I took on shit just turning my studio into a virtual studio, and then the recordings, then the audiobook, and then it just got crazy. I never had time. I literally would come here and leave like I will tonight at 2 a.m. I'll leave at 2 a.m. and I come.
You're gonna be killing it. You're gonna be just as vital when you're 98 years old as you are right now at 68.
118.
So, yeah, I'm not too worried about it, bro. Yeah. I mean, you're.
All right, you guys, man.
It will happen when it happens.
Yeah. So thanks for inviting me, and I'll see you guys on Metal. You can be on Metal tomorrow.
We'll be there.
I might get there at 10:30, but I got these builders that are coming and knocking shit at 9, so I'll coffee up, and I'll have these glasses on so you won't see the bloodshot eyes.
All right.
Love you, Kenny.
You rock, Kenny, indeed. Peace, brother. Love you. Bye for now.